I, as a warrior empath, know how to take your projection, your drama, your chaos, your trauma, your abuse, your attack. I know how to take that negative fucking energy, magically alchemize and transform all of them into the universal ways of oneness, and I become more powerful. I can fucking eat that shit for dinner. That's a warrior empath. You are essentially untouchable, unfuckwithable. That's the power, the potential of power you can become as a warrior empath. It is a becoming. This is the warrior part of it. You have to become the warrior. You're not born as this type of warrior automatically. As an empath, we're coming from the old earth where it's polarity, severance, duality consciousness. No one who comes from that evil, that darkness, that low frequency, all the projection, all the slander, all the attacking of you, you can take all of that and fucking alchemize it, transform it into each and every universal way of oneness frequency, the highest level of enlightenment. You can literally take darkness, transform it into the light of oneness consciousness, and then you are more powerful. And everything around you, the earth, is more powerful. You're raising the frequency of earth and everything on it. You're helping earth, Mother Earth herself, to ascend. That's the warrior empath. Welcome to Masters of Self University podcast, your highest source of sacred truths and universal wisdom. Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Rachel Fiori, mystic, spiritual teacher, psychic healer, and founder of Masters of Self University. Join our journey of soul transformation as we deep dive into this latest episode. Hello, hello, incredible beings of light. Welcome to Masters of Self University podcast. I'm Rachel Fiori, and we are going to dive in to what being a warrior empath means. So I had requests in the past of, please do a podcast episode on all the types of empaths. And I've contemplated that. And I decided I'm going to do this episode only on the warrior empath. You can easily go on any search engine and look up all the different types of empaths. I've written about only a few. There are tons, all kinds. I've written about a few of them in my book, In Mason's Way, The 20 Universal Ways of Oneness, as most of you know. Did not go in depth by any means, just an overview. But you can do your own research, and you can find out a lot about all the types of empath, the various types of empaths, in a matter of 10 minutes. So I'm not going to do an episode on all of them. And here's one of the main reasons why. The warrior empath, I've never even heard anybody use that term. And I'm going to tell you what it means, because this is a very critical type of empath that resides and exists on this planet right now. And this is a real thing. A warrior empath is, don't let your ego attach to any of this, what I'm saying, by the way. Don't do that. That's old earth. Don't be an old earther. But a warrior empath is a very special type of empath. All right. And let's understand what it means. A warrior empath came here. Obviously, this is important. There are two main things I want you to understand. You are naturally, organically, you were born as a really, really, really deeply, deeply sensitive empath. Okay. That really deep type of empath, when you can feel what you can feel to the depths of everything. Okay. And again, you might be a different type of empath. Like, what do you feel the most as far as human emotion goes? You might not feel quite as much there compared to animal emotions. So you feel, that means you're an animal empath. But the warrior empath is here to feel incredibly deeply, because you can't not as an empath. You feel things like it's your own. That's what an empath is and does, right? You are a very sensitive, deep empath. But a warrior empath came here to become the spiritual warrior you need to become, that this planet needs you to become in this lifetime. You are a mystical warrior. What does that mean? You had to learn how to contend with the darkness and alchemize it like this, with the magic that you are. So we all know that empaths in general often, and I've already done a podcast episode on empaths, and I've talked about this already, so I don't need to go into extreme depth on this part, but I am going to overview and mention it again because it's really important. You have absolutely had relationships, family relationships, romantic relationships, friendships, coworkers, colleagues, bosses, whatever. You've had relationships with narcissists. You have had relationships with abusers. If you are legitimately an empath, you had to. The warrior empath has had some of the most severe entanglement with, especially if it's like romantic, but it's either almost always it's going to be one or both parents, and a romantic relationship, or 3 romantic relationships. Like after the one, you thought you healed and escaped and became powerful, and then you got into another relationship. You're like, oh my God, you're 6, 9 months in, a year in, you're like, Jesus, I'm trapped in another goddamn narcissistic abusive relationship again. What the hell? And then the third one, maybe, so you are going to go through some pretty extreme forms of abuse. Various types of it. There's more types than just narcissistic abuse, but various types of abuse you've probably experienced as a warrior empath. Now, this is important to understand because you have to become the warrior, mystical warrior, spiritual warrior, and we need to understand what that means. A warrior empath has been through this kind of abuse, and you had to learn how to become powerful in a very, very different way, in a low, dense world filled with rape and violence and domination and abuse and control and enslavement and all the things, all the toxicity, all the poison. You had to be able to use your gifts of sensitivities, empathy, compassion, harmlessness and gentleness, all of that. You had to be able to use your gifts to help heal this world and thrust the collective into a new earth by creating a new earth. You can't create a new earth if you are completely debilitated by your sensitivities and how deeply you feel. Let me say that one more time. You cannot create a new earth and help be the leaders of new earth, because empaths are the leaders of new earth. You cannot help to create a new earth if you're debilitated by your own sensitivities. Let that sink in. You can't. If you're debilitated by how sensitive you are, if you resort to spiritual bypassing and avoiding and coping and suppressing and all the bullshit, you're weak and powerless. You haven't turned into the warrior you're here to become. Warrior empaths are leading the new way, creating a new earth and paving the way forward. They are the way showers of new earth. Warrior empath means that being mean, being nasty, being unkind, being selfish and narcissistic, none of that comes naturally to you. You cannot relate to it. You don't think that way. You can't relate in any way, shape, or form to that. Okay. I can tell you, as a child that or even as a young adult, when relationships, people would function the way they would function, and their distortion and their dysfunction and their evil and their toxicity and their violence and their abuse and me being in relationship with certain people, I cannot even comprehend how you're fucking functioning this way. For an empath, they cannot relate to that because there is nothing in their energy in their molecules, in their crystalline form. There is nothing that exists inside of them that thinks and believes and functions and takes actions in the form of manipulation and using and lying and abusing and distorting. And they don't, like, none of that is in this existence. Meaning, how you come into this world, you can't relate to it. You don't understand what it means. Very similarly to, you were born as a biological man. You have no fucking idea what it means to be a woman. You only have the experience. You can only relate to being a man, and vice versa. You're a biological woman. You can't relate to being a man. You're not a man. It's like that. Do you understand? You have your life experiences as a very dark-skinned, highly melanated person. Well, I can't relate in the same way. I don't have the exact experiences. Do you understand? And vice versa. You think you know, you project, all that shit that we do, but you don't have the direct, you can't relate because you don't directly understand or experience it. As an empath, you can't relate to being anything but harmlessness and gentleness, compassion, thoughtful, the way of selfless service to others. Okay, so when you incarnate on this fucking hell planet of enslavement and imprisonment, you can't relate to how people are showing up and how nasty and unkind and heartless and cold and selfish and all the things. You can't relate at all. Like, so you have to learn, you have to become educated. This starts the journey of the warrior empath. You have to actually understand it by being educated, and you can only be educated, true educated education, not indoctrination, not brainwashing bullshit, through experience. You're experiencing what that narcissist or that abuser or that manipulator or that liar or that cheater, whatever, you're experiencing what they do, how they do it, their programming, why they do it. Because you have to become powerful enough to alchemize all of it and to not let their evil, their selfishness, their abuse, their cruelty, their trauma to take you down and debilitate you. So not only that, it's not about you showing up here on this planet in this lifetime of the Great Awakening. It's not about showing up here and surviving it. You're not here to survive what's going on this planet. You're here to thrive, alchemize all of it, and be the way shower of a new type of existence, of human. You're leading the way to human evolution at the DNA level, at the level of energy, at the level of us slowly transforming and evolving into crystalline bodies. Isn't crystal like the hard structure of crystal? It's what makes those crystal. Like, we're turning into crystalline beings. Okay, it's the molecules, the elements of what makes up a crystal. Think of it like that. So you're the way shower of that. We are the leaders of that, of becoming heart-centered beings. Now, the only way to do that is to become a warrior. So really understand this. To become a warrior means you go through the hell as an extraordinarily sensitive person, where you cry at the drop of a hat. You feel the pain and agony of others like this, like it's your own, instantly. Okay. And that can take you down and debilitate you when you don't become powerful enough to learn. You have to become an alchemist. You have to become a master of the self as an empath. You have a choice, or you're going to drown and die. Law of suicide there. Because you can't handle, quote unquote. You just don't have the skills. You can handle it. You're powerful enough to. It is the power of your love as the way of unconditional love. It is the power of your purity as the way of purity. It is the power of the way of harmony. So you harmonize things, and you are harmonizing other frequencies, lower, evil, dense, dark, negative frequencies. You're harmonizing them to raise them to match the frequency. This is a form of entrainment that you are actually commanding. You're raising those frequencies around you. You're alchemizing them into the frequency that you are. Anyone can learn how to do that. I teach this stuff in our classes at Masters of Self University. Become a student. But empaths are the like highest of the high when they learn how to do this. They are the most powerful when it comes to this. Remember, I reminded you, get your fucking ego out of here. There's no tolerance for it. Everybody has different abilities, different skills. Everybody has different variances that their expression of that skill or ability. Your psychic ability, whether you're a medium, whether you're an animal communicator, whether you're an energy, it doesn't matter. Remember, we don't need 8 billion people on the planet to all be car mechanics. It doesn't even make any sense. But somehow when it comes to spirituality and psychic gifts, everybody has all of them. No, they fucking don't. It doesn't even make any sense. I'm going to remind you, I teach that all the time. Like everybody, not everybody's an empath. It doesn't make sense that every single 8 billion people would be empaths. They're not. Everyone is, no, they're not. Okay. We need variances. We need different people with different gifts. Okay. So I'm going to remind you of that. So when I say things like, warrior empaths, like they have the highest level of potential when it comes to alchemy and transforming dark, lower, dense, negative energies into the light of the frequencies of the way of oneness. They do. They have the highest level of power potential for it compared to anybody else. And it doesn't mean anybody else can't be extremely powerful in it. Do you understand what I'm saying? And as an empath and as a warrior empath that you came here to win, be on the side of light of this spiritual war that we are in the universe, it doesn't mean let your spiritual ego get a hold of that either. Like you're so special. Stop that. Remember, no egos allowed here. We're done with that. That's old earth. No more spiritual egos. No more ego, period. Okay? Oneness, detached, observe, just detach from it all. All right? Okay, so let's understand something. The warrior empath came here to be powerful enough to set the goddamn boundaries that you need to set. I've already done a podcast on empaths, right? And I've already taught to some degree. All empaths have to master saying no and setting boundaries to be what you're here to be in this lifetime. Okay, all empaths, you have to become powerful. Again, I'm branching out and speaking only on what the warrior empath is, because they came here to be the leaders of New Earth, truly. All right, like true way showers. You can't be the vibrational frequency of a New Earth if you are not the way of harmlessness and gentleness and the way of compassion and all the ways of oneness, to be honest. But the warrior empath really learned from the narcissists, from the abusers, from the misogynists, from people who hate and create nothing but hate, duality consciousness and severance consciousness. Warrior empath means no matter what you throw at me, I'm the most highly sensitive that exists on this planet. And you know what? There's nothing you can do to debilitate me. All empaths can relate to feeling emotionally and even physically sometimes, and even mentally sometimes, completely debilitated by the darkness, by the pain, by the trauma, by your own trauma, by how somebody ripped your heart out, used you, abused you, tossed you aside, threw you away, objectified you, traumatized you. Like, oh my gosh, unfortunately, that's all over the planet. That's what we came here to eradicate on the planet. And warrior empaths, as empaths, that like you've had those experiences where you just felt so obliterated, completely debilitated, like you can't function and you can't go on. The pain is so agonizing. Your trauma is that great. You feel swallowed up by it, like you were just dropped into the bottom of the ocean and you're holding your breath and you're just counting to like, when am I just gonna breathe in the water and say goodbye, let myself go? Like empaths have been there. You've been there in that kind of pain and agony. And I bet almost any empath past a certain age, now if you're real young, past a certain age, almost any empath can relate to that, right? To some degree. we know what pain is. We know what trauma is. We know what agony is. We know what it feels to be debilitated by it. We know what it feels like to be debilitated by other people's, getting swallowed up in other people's pain, because you feel so much for them, right? All empaths can relate to that. And the warrior empath can take that and fucking alchemize it. That you cannot, you don't have an effect on me. And as an empath, it doesn't mean you don't feel the pain. It means that pain doesn't debilitate me. That pain doesn't bring me down. I, as a warrior empath, know how to take your projection, your drama, your chaos, your trauma, your abuse, your attack, your slander, your bullshit. I know how to take that negative fucking energy, magically alchemize and transform all of them into the universal ways of oneness, and I become more powerful. I can fucking eat that shit for dinner. That's a warrior empath. You are essentially untouchable, unfuckwithable. That's the power, the potential of power you can become as a warrior empath. I can tell you we have warrior empath certified coaches at Masters Self University, and they're tapping into that power. They're becoming that. It is a becoming. This is the warrior part of it. You have to become the warrior. You're not born as this type of warrior automatically. As an empath, you're too sensitive, you're too deep, you're too gentle. You have to take that extreme like polarity, because we're coming from the old earth where it's polarity, severance, duality consciousness. That's what patriarchy is, remember? You're taking that, what's pretty much a polarized opposite, and you are bringing it in and integrating all that evil, all that darkness, and you are alchemizing it and becoming powerful enough that no one who comes from that evil, that darkness, that low frequency, that abuse, that hate, that domination, that objectification and dehumanization, and whatever other programs and frequencies they throw at you, all the projection, all the slander, all the attacking of you, doesn't mean anything. You can take all of that and fucking alchemize it, transform it into each and every universal way of oneness frequency. The highest level of enlightenment. You can literally take darkness, transform it into the light of oneness consciousness, and then you are more powerful. And everything around you, the earth, is more powerful. You're raising the frequency of earth and everything on it. You're helping earth, Mother Earth herself, to ascend by being this warrior empath and what it means to be a warrior empath. That's the warrior empath. Now, let me mention this, because I've seen the trend of what a dark empath is out there. If you haven't heard of it for some reason, somehow, go down the rabbit hole, feel free. Here's my encouragement. Okay, because a lot of what I'm describing would line up with what people are calling the dark empath. Stop it. Stop it. Stop putting dark in front of everything and anything that is pure. Dark goddesses, dark witch, dark goddesses. This is extraordinarily misogynistic, because it most of the time applies to women. The dark god, they're not fucking dark goddesses, because then you think of the gods and the males and the saints that are men. They're light. You're still contributing to severance, separation, patriarchal, misogynistic consciousness. The dark empath now is falling into that damn category where you think you're so awakened, and you're literally still bringing in the consciousness of patriarchal old earth, which is almost always 99.9% of the time is going to be fucking misogyny in it. Racism is nothing but misogyny. Hello? You get a clue on that one yet? It's misogyny. Dark empath, it doesn't exist. Quit it with the language. You're casting spells and energies to continue to keep old earth alive, and you don't even realize you're doing it. These are all these levels of energetics that we need to rise above and master each one of these levels. We teach this at Masters of Self University in our coursework and our more advanced energetic coursework. All right. Just so you know that that's there. I just want you to know that it exists. And I teach it for a reason. We teach all this stuff there for a reason. because people who are doing their absolute best to wake up and heal for real, and you are, there's never a judgment. You're doing your absolute best, but we've been dumbed down for so long that in our awakening, we're going to make a lot of mistakes. Okay. That's where the way of compassion and the way of patience and the way of surrender comes into play, of the 20 universal ways of oneness. We're going to make a lot of mistakes along the way. We're going to get a little bit of the truth, and we're going to start to be empowered and rise. And then we realize, well, shit, I'm just still bringing in old earth crap right into this thing too. Dark empath is that example. Stop calling everything dark. All right. Stop calling goddesses and anything to do with women dark. That doesn't even exist. Again, it's nothing but old earth misogynistic painting a picture of a whole group of people that still keeps you in that severance consciousness and misogyny always. Okay. Yes, it's important. The language you use when it comes to certain things and you feel the energy behind it is important. Okay. And I'm going to magic and ritual podcast that will come after this. I'm going to teach you more about that and spells and all that that's happening and going on all the time, and why this is important to take me seriously when I offer this teaching to you. Okay. Dark empath, dark goddesses. I'm going to mention this. Stop calling goddesses dark. The original creator of all that is she, women are birthed, incarnated in the form, a physical form of the creator herself. Okay. When there is darkness on the planet, when there is evil and pain, whether it's inside of ourselves and our wounds and our trauma, or whether it's in the whole world, the collective, the ability to go inside of that darkness, because you are the light that heals, that alchemizes, that transforms, that elevates, that guides. Do you understand? You are the light. You have no fear to go into the darkest of the dark. That doesn't make you a dark goddess. It's a misrepresentation. It's skewed for a reason, because of all the brainwashing of what dark means. Do you understand? You're still contributing to skewing the definition of these things. You are the light, period. Going into the darkness doesn't make you a dark goddess or a dark empath. You are the light that enters into the dark in order to alchemize it and transform it into a different energy, a different vibrational frequency, to heal it. Okay. So one of my favorite goddesses, triple goddess and goddess of magic. She doesn't actually prefer to be called a witch, in case y'all didn't fucking want to know that. And it's just, let's go. Let's wake up for real here. What we've even done with that word, again, that could be another podcast for another time. Hecate, triple goddess Hecate. She is the goddess of magic. Okay. And she is she who has many names. She is so ancient and so powerful. She's the goddess of magic. She is the goddess of crossroads. Any of you know anything about Hecate, you know she's referred to many things. They put a dark goddess, dark witch, label on her for a reason. They do this for a reason, so that when people start to wake up for real and they start realizing deities and goddesses and beings, divine beings who are here, who have always been here, but we can connect to, that can help us raise the frequency of the planet and wake people up and all of that. They want you to be afraid and ignorant in knowing anything about the truth of what they are, so that you'll stay away from them. Okay. So they put that dark spin on it, like it's shadowy, like it might be negative or scary or evil or, Satan, satanic rituals. They want to keep you away from the magic. They want to keep you away from what the light actually is and the beings that represent the highest levels of light that exist. Just remember that. So although it's cute and trendy, stop falling for the cute and trendy. Elevate higher is my encouragement to you. The warrior empath, a lot of the things that I've seen that people are putting out, the dark empath, it's ridiculous. It doesn't mean there isn't truth to what I see being put out there, but what they're describing is the warrior empath. Just like goddesses, dark goddesses, they're goddesses, period. Let's just call them what they are, goddesses. Okay? There are different types of empaths. The warrior empath is one. Let's not put a dark, negative spin, negative frequency into it, where that's old earth. We need to stop doing that. We need to be the way of responsibility. It is our responsibility to stop doing that, to be the way of wisdom and realize why we need to stop doing that. All right. So the warrior empath, listen, you are incredible. You are a very powerful type of being. You are here to alchemize the evil on this planet, because the highest frequencies that exist, the ways of oneness, you are truth, warrior empath. You are patience and surrender. You are presence. You are connection. You are compassion. You are harmlessness and gentleness tenfold. You are balanced in what it means to be warrior empath, the sensitive that you are. That's the way of equality, how sensitive and empathic you are, the way, but also powerful and a warrior all at the same time. You wouldn't think they go together. When integrated in oneness, that's the way of equality. That's the way of the warrior empath. You are these ways as a warrior empath. You are the way shower and the creator of New Earth. Now, many people are creating New Earth with different gifts and abilities that we need, everybody working together in oneness to create a New Earth. It's not just one type of person. It isn't just like the chosen ones or warrior empaths, and that's it. You know, myself as a teacher of oneness consciousness, bringing the teachings of oneness consciousness and the 20 ways of oneness to the earth. There are many beings working together, animals, nature beings, beings in different realms that are helping. Okay, we're multidimensional. This is a multidimensional process to heal and fix what the hell Earth has been taken over and enslaved and turned into. But warrior empaths for sure are way showers. They are the highest level of alchemists and magicians to transform the energies that need to be transformed on this planet to actually create a new Earth. Okay, so I want you to just breathe and drop in. If you know you are an empath, are you here to take all the evil and transform it? How many narcissistic relationships have you been in? Romantic, family, or otherwise? I want you to throw, well, why am I attracting this to myself? Stop, throw the preschool fucking law of attraction bullshit out. Like, get over it already. This is way more complex and intricate than that. You have to learn to alchemize to become an alchemist. You have to learn to become what a warrior, a spiritual warrior, mystical warrior actually is, as a deeply sensitive empath, the warrior empath. You're here to fight the battle of good versus evil because it is a real war going on. There is a spiritual war actually going on. You're in it and you are on a side, whether you realize it or not. That's not duality consciousness. It's the truth. How you show up in your energetic frequencies, your emotions, your belief systems, your mental programs, the wounds that you refuse to heal. You're on the side of evil and darkness. You're on that side. You refuse to grow and elevate. You're on the side of evil. That's the side you're on. By default, it's set up by design to be that. If you are not healing yourself, growing, elevating, healing, and alchemizing your traumas, you're on the wrong side of the war. Or the right side, depending on how you're looking at it. But you're on the side of evil. You're on the side of darkness. You're not on the side of the light. You're not on the divinity side of the spiritual war. Anybody refusing to heal and grow and take ownership of their own trauma, their own programming, their own wounds, their own inner child, to grow that child up and no longer show up as a wounded child, which is fractured off pieces of you. You're a fractured, broken self when your inner child is taking over and you still have wounded aspects of you. That's the truth as the way of truth, which means you're on the side of the darkness on this in this spiritual war by default, because you're fueling them by being wounded and traumatized and helpless and hopeless and in survival mode and suffering and in agony and anguish and depression and PTSD that you won't heal. You're on the evil side of darkness in this spiritual war. So the dark empath in not the dark empath, let me say it this way. The dark empath, when you understand what I'm teaching you, the little twisting and manipulation that goes on, the dark empath, they want you to attach to the dark side of this spiritual war as an empath, which is part of the propaganda out there, is to call a warrior empath a dark empath. I don't want you energetically to consent to that and get tricked because you don't have a high enough level of spiritual, true, actual spiritual education in energetics, metaphysical education. That's part of what they do. The propaganda that they put out, they'll tell you all the beautiful, wonderful, incredible, powerful, divine, mystical truths about quote unquote dark empath, but they're labeling it as something where all of your energies are already brainwashed to what darkness is. So you actually attach your energies to being a lower frequency. You're like, oh, dark empath. Okay, so it's okay if I live in the darkness, and whatever your mind is going to do with it. It could take me 3 hours to teach you that, and probably you need 2 years at Masters of Self University to understand it anyway. So just let me put it very simply. Stop with the terminology of it. Okay? The warrior empath is a real thing. And if you're listening to this and you relate, it's probably exactly what you are. You probably already know that you are that as soon as I said it. You are here to be a way shower, to become a master alchemist, to transform darkness, evil, trauma, negative, low energies. You are here to become a being of oneness, to be on the side of light in this spiritual war, to have nothing debilitate you any longer, but you had to be born and experience in all the darkness, protecting you and your sensitivities, guiding you in that, if you had enlightened parents and you're an empath, guiding you in that very gentle way. For example, really deep empaths, really highly sensitive empaths. You can relate to this. When you were a child, you didn't need punishment. You didn't need harshness. You didn't need scolding. You didn't need anybody yelling at you. You didn't need to be grounded or spanked, or, you didn't need to be harshly punished. Because when you realize that you made a mistake, it was like crushing and debilitating. It could be close to debilitating when you just realize you made a mistake, or if you harmed someone or something by accident, you didn't realize you were causing harm. Once you realize you cause harm, you're so devastated. You have to learn how not to self-loathe and self-punish. That's a true empath. You torture yourself because you're so naturally the way of harmlessness and gentleness. You're so naturally the way of unconditional love. That's naturally what you are as an empath, right? So as a child, you were likely harshly guided, often abused, and all the things that you never should have. You don't need harsh redirection to learn something. Like some kids, man, do they need to learn with extremely negative consequences. And that's their soul and their being, and, for another time to teach that. It's a real thing. Never means abuse, by the way. Don't ever misinterpret my teaching. But some need really harsh consequences to learn. All right? Empaths don't. Empathic children, very sensitive children just need oh, wait, hold on. Let's push pause. Push pause, the way of patience. Take a breath, push pause. Let's see what your choice just did. What did your choice just create? Can you see it? And then you let the child critically think and figure it out and become the way of presence. And oh my gosh. And then I realize I harmed. Or if I can't figure it out on my own as a little child with a beautiful divine teacher, what we call parents. I don't like that word, should fucking throw it in the trash. You're a divine teacher. You're their first divine teacher. If you have that divine teacher, they're guiding you gently. If you need that divine, because you can't figure it out on your own this time, great. So the divine teacher points out that you just hurt or harmed someone or something. That alone is like devastating to an empath, a true empath, very sensitive. So then you learn how to process that. After you learn how to process your own devastation, emotional devastation, you then shift to who you may have hurt or harmed in some way. That's teaching and guiding an empath. Now, you didn't get that. None of us did. Why? Because you're a warrior empath. You had to learn to figure this shit out on your own because you're literally dropped into a war. You were born into a spiritual war, literally. You didn't get the gentle little nudge and figure it out. Now, we are the way showers for future generations who live on a new earth. Empaths that incarnate in the future will be extremely gifted, but they won't be warrior empaths at a certain point because there's no need for them. Okay, they'll just be all types of empaths, and they can be guided and gently guided and taught and redirected. That's all they need. Okay, they'll be protected. Their emotional state, their sensitivities will be honored and cherished. That's the future. To get to that future, warrior empaths had to incarnate where they were going to get none of that. They were going to be shattered and abused and fractured open and soul split into a million pieces. And you have to collect those pieces and you have to put them together and you have to alchemize all of it. That's the warrior empath. Do you understand? Not holding on to victim consciousness, not being a victim of any of it. Get the shit gone, alchemize it, no more. Not staying trapped in your wounding or your traumas. Get it gone. Okay? Because the only way we can get to the future that I just mentioned, this wave of warrior empaths that are on the planet now, you came here to become the warrior empath in order for at some point to no longer need them. Do you understand? So that's that. So if you are a warrior empath, I am going to leave you with this. The warrior empath. I am a warrior empath. I feel to the depths of the deep. I hurt, I love, I flinch, I embrace. The slightest thing makes me weep. I am a warrior empath, too sensitive for this harsh world. But that's the point, to use my gifts. It's time for gentleness to be unfurled. I am a warrior empath, raised with atrocities, too unkind for sentient beings, but refuse to get trapped in animosity. I am a warrior empath, turning cruelty into the sweet. I have magical powers and alchemize evil into defeat. I am a warrior empath, paving the way for future sensitives to transform this world with the power of my heart and alchemize the low densities. To all of you warrior empaths, realize what you are. I am so grateful that you are on this planet doing what you are doing, but let me remind you how essential it is for you to heal everything, alchemize it all, become powerful, powerful, powerful. Practice your boundaries. No is a complete sentence. You don't need an explanation or a justification to anybody for you saying, no, that doesn't work for me. No, you're not going to do that to me. Set your damn boundaries and be powerful enough, healed enough, become a being of oneness consciousness enough so that no more do you get taken down emotionally, debilitated by the evil, by the acts of others and how unkind and how unloving and how manipulative and how much of a user they are and what they project onto you and how much they slander your name and call you things. You are a warrior empath. Remember that. Become it fully and heal, and don't stop healing until you have completed your evolution, your transformation to be that warrior empath that this planet so desperately needs. All future humanity needs you to achieve this and become it. So make sure you heal and elevate and become it. The world needs you. Thank you for being here. If you need more help in becoming that, we cultivate that at Masters of Self University. Become a student. Thank you for being here. I'm sending all the love in the universe to you. Thank you for listening. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.